Okay, so this is just the really fast version where I'm going to go over this whole tier list, why everything is here. But I want to keep this like under 10 minutes, whereas before I think my other one's probably around about 4 hours or something like that. So there's another video that I made that I go way more into detail about everything. So if you're really interested about how a like me talking a lot more about a subclass, or everything's timestamped, so just jump into that video, look for the timestamp, go there. I'll go into detail about it. Yeah, and I'll just get into talking about why everything is where it is. So I put creation bar first. I think they've got so many like really creative tools. They can like use like a telekinesis type ability, uh, and they can like create pretty much anything. Um, it's like the creation spell, but you get it like really early on, and it's really versatile. Um, I think this pretty much like requires a creative person and a DM that's like happy for you to experiment and things like that. Like if you get a kind of interested DM, don't play this. Um, Cywara gets a lot of really interesting psychic abilities. They're like they're a fighter, but they have so many like almost spell-like abilities. They have a lot of options in combat, and they can be really like tactical. And you've got so much cool things to do. Phantoms deal a ton of damage, easily the highest dealing damage rogue in the game. Um, they're they pretty much they double their sneak attack dice. They have kind of broken ways of acquiring like resources and things like that. Um, if if wording about creatures is how it is written, this is actually probably first or second. Yeah, it's pretty broken. The genie has such an interesting way. They've got like a bottle that they can go in, and that's like a really surprising amount of users. Also, getting access to wish and limited wish makes it so good at high levels. I wouldn't say it's higher than a Hexblade, but it's got a lot of really good tools that puts it quite a bit above any other Warlock, for sure. Um, Down to the A tier, we've got Soul Knife Rogue. They they have like these psychic blades that they can use. They deal good damage, but they're kind of like the Psy Warrior. They've got a lot of really interesting options they have in combat. Really solid all around. Um, Better than any rogue aside from Phantom and Arcane Trickster. Um, Twilight Domain Cleric just get a ton of really solid abilities. They can give their entire party Dark Vision. They give like boosts to initiative. They give temp HP every round. They have ways of dealing with Frighten and Charm really early on. They have a lot of really solid stuff. Stars Druid has a really versatile kit. They're pretty much good at everything that a Druid can do. They don't fully specialize, but um, pretty much everything they have is strong. Yeah, Rune Knight has a bunch of runes that they can get that give really strong abilities. So things like resistance to all physical damage, options to just completely incapacitate and restrain people in combat. They have one ability that lets you as a reaction give advantage or disadvantage to whatever ability check you want, just every round for like 10 minutes. It just works. Everyone Mind is a really solid spellcasting version of the Sorcerer. Like they have a lot more spell options. They get a lot more spell prepared and things like that. And they also have options for getting more out of your sorcery points in terms of spellcasting. Peace Domain is really good at buffing your allies. You get something like a Bless, like just as a spellcasting ability that you don't need to concentrate on or anything like that. It's really solid all round. Not quite as much stuff as the high level stuff though. Wildfire is not what you'd expect from the name, but it's got a lot of really like tactical uses. It's got a pet that can like teleport every round just for free. Um, it's not what you'd expect. It's really good. the Beast Barbarian is a little bit worse off than I think the average Barbarian is, but it has some really good like damage options. It's another really versatile one that has a lot of options. Whatever you want to do, you can do pretty well. For that, a Barbarian does normally well. The Armorer just doesn't get enough options that the higher level Artificers do, but it will always be solid. It will deal okay damage. It'll be okay at tanking. It'll be okay in general. It's a really cool concept. So you'll be fine if you play an Armorer. Swampkeeper, super interesting concept. Uses bugs as like attacking and defending and things like that. Has interesting options for a ranger. I just don't think it's on par with like a lot of the Xanathar's ones, Gloomstalker and things like that. Yeah, Wild Magic has a really cool mechanic where you get something pretty much different each combat, and they're useful really early on. So the Wild Magic Barbarian is actually quite strong until like 5th level or so, where it just falls behind quite quickly compared to others. The Fathomless is like a water-based warlock. It doesn't get a lot of useful abilities. It's kind of like everything's water themed, and if you're not around the water all the time, a lot of things will just feel quite useless. You can get some good damage off, I think. Definitely early on, but it just doesn't have much gripping on to use. Fey Wanderer is like a Fey Touched type ranger. I think a lot of the stuff it does, the Horizon Walker also does and does better. But it gets teleports, it gets charms and frightened stuff, it gets like conditional things. It's okay. The Clockworks Sorcerer, all of its abilities are pretty lackluster but usable. Like everything's useful and you will be used, but it's not too impactful. Like the Everett Minder, you get more spell selections than normal, so I think it's solid. Definitely doesn't stack up to higher level sorcerers, but it's kind of comfortable being around like a little bit with the lower level sorcerers like Wild Magic and things. Oath of the Watchers, it's good against like aberrations and places from other planes. Creatures from other planes. But it just doesn't get a hell of a lot compared to other Paladin subclasses. Paladin subclasses are really strong, and this just doesn't have a lot to show for it. The Way of the Mercy Monk is it has some options for like dealing damage and healing and stuff like that, but it's really overstretched. Like everything uses key points, and it's got you've got pretty much no key points left over for doing normal monk stuff. If you do, like it can be an okay healer, but it's just not on par with anything else that you can do. Way of the Astral Self, I think it's a lot worse than the Way of the Mercy Monk, but you can only show so much with tears. I think it just doesn't get a lot that actually elevates it in combat. I think it's a really cool concept. None of the abilities like make them too crazy or anything. It gives them some stuff, and if you want to build like a completely wisdom based monk, like is your primary ability score, then this is the way to do it. All monk subclasses are bad, so it's not like it's that much worse than your average monk subclass. And then finally we've got the Scribe's Wizard at the absolute last. This just has nothing, no redeemable qualities. It's quite bad. For reference, I'd put the second worst wizard subclass at a B tier, and this is all the way down at F. It's just really bad. Anyway, that was subclasses ranked real quick. If you again go check out my other video and just go for the timestamps if you're curious about some of them. Yeah, I'd recommend checking out the S tier ones. They're really interesting. Anyway, see ya.